I have had two major injuries throughout my athletic career. Both have been on my knee. My first injury was during playing soccer, and that was during a game. Pivoted on my knee. My knee gave out, came off the field. Next half, went back on the field to see how bad it was, and sure enough, any kind of pivot or any kind of movement on that knee, it just continued to give out. After the game and the following week, we went to get an MRI on that knee, and it turns out that I have torn my ACL and MCL in that knee, so I had to go undergo surgery, which then placed me out of commission for about 8 months. That's counting rehab and PT and everything else of that nature. About 4 to 5 years later, playing racquetball in court, feet stuck to the ground, knee pivoted wrong, tore again. My knee blew out, continued to play on it because I just wanted to see how the tested and see how bad it was. Sure enough, anytime I stepped on that knee, it continued to just pop out. Therefore, I went to go get an MRI for the second time and tore that ACL and MCL for that second time. And that going through the rehab of 8 months and the surgery again, we made the decision to where sports that required a lot of lateral movement on the knees were going to have to be in the past. So we then look forward to things in the future that didn't require any kind of lateral on the knees. The story behind me finding the triathlon world was pretty much came from my PT, which is my sister-in-law. She was my PT during my second knee surgery. After tearing that, she mentioned triathlon, which I didn't know anything about triathlon. I didn't know anything about the order it was in, how much the distances were, or any of that nature. I thought there was one distance and then that's it. But there's from the little stuff, super sprints, to all the way up to Ironman items. It was just a pretty good transition. So I tried one and loved it and kind of got sucked into the sport. You know, started to find coaches, started to find teams, and turned out I really loved it. Triathlon, put simply, is 3 sports into 1 sport. So the 3 sports are swimming, biking, and running, and they're always in that order. And my wife pretty much laid down an ultimatum saying if I ever tore that ACL again or MCL or any kind of injury on that knee, then it would probably lead to divorce.
So I told him if he tore the same ACL a third time in the same knee, that I would divorce him. I would not move out. I would stay in my house and we could still be a family, but I would legally divorce him because I just felt taking care of someone after doing the same thing twice to the same knee just was insanity. So I wanted him to understand how serious I was, that he had to be mindful and take care of himself.
I chose to compete in triathlons because my dad was competing in them, and I just liked swimming, running, and biking in general, so I just decided to try them out. I think being an Ironman means that you have been putting in all this hard work and you have been determined to do these extremely hard races that take you hours on end, and you're just very determined and you want to accomplish something not many people have accomplished in this world.
Being the spectator of an Ironman, it is an emotional roller coaster ride, in my opinion. Having someone work so hard and dedicate everything they have, from energy to time, to this one thing, it can be sad. It is missing them, knowing that they're not there, that they can't do certain things. They're always tired and they're cranky. So being an Ironman was just an emotional roller coaster. However, at the finish line, it's the most incredible feeling because you know that the person you love so much just accomplished something that they wanted, and to be able to enjoy that with them and celebrate at the finish line because you are the only person who knows what they went through, because you were side by side through the good and the bad. So I feel this Ironman is just a badge of honor, and it came with so much emotions involved with it.
People say they want to be an Ironman, but they only do it half distance. It's just not the same. I knew once I started triathlon and I fell in love, I tried to figure out what was the pinnacle of that sport. And that's primarily what I think a lot of people want to get to, is that pinnacle. How far can you get? You know, in Ironman full distance, 140.6 miles was the pinnacle. And after that, it was just, how can I get there? Being an Ironman, it was very fulfilling. You know, once you go through the pain of all the triumphs and ups and downs through the training to try to get there, which is by far the hardest training things I've ever done. You know, I mean, you're on the bike for 6-7 hours, multiple weekends in a row, and it's very taxing mentally and physically. My Ironman was in Mount Tremblant, Canada, which is a very, very hilly race, but beautiful, one of the coveted Ironmans in the world to go do. And my whole goal was to finish. Right? And time didn't have too much of a factor in it, but I still wanted to produce a good time and see how my training can do. That race, I would say, probably mentally took me 2 hours to do. You lose concept of time when you're doing something so big. Your mind goes into a little different world. Crossing the finish line is definitely different in any single race, right? I mean, I've crossed finish lines to where it was just something, okay, great, I did it as a training race, you know, great, I'm out of there, done, give me my medal, see you later. And then there's been races to where you put so much effort into something and you cross that finish line and it's completely surreal. You know, for instance, like the Ironman, you know, the full distance Ironman, when you cross that finish line, you get every emotion imaginable, right? You break down in tears. I know I cried at the end of my Ironman, just because you kind of know that you put so much work into something for an entire year, and then you do a race, and now that race is over, right? And you know, the whole training, the racing, the self-help, the family, everything has come full circle. So now it's done, you know, and you move on to the next one, but you try to hold on to that feeling as long as you possibly can, because it's such an accomplishment, you know, to be able to achieve something of that nature. So hopefully I can keep crossing those lines. Becoming an Ironman, it's a great feeling. It's a bucket list worthy item to accomplish in your life.